Hello, I'm back. It's been a while, so I've just been burned down lately. And today we're gonna continue with the class guide, and we're gonna talk about the fighter. Look it up because I. Oh yeah, this one, the fighter. And fighters are actually probably the class that I would recommend most newbies to play. Actually, just because it's a very simple class to understand. You're a fighter. You fight stuff. They get proficiency in every weapon, so you can use anything. All armors, so you can have. Unlike other classes, you can actually decide which armor you can have. So if you want to have plate armor or leather armor, it's up to you. And because you get proficiency in every weapon, also means that you have a wider array of weapons to choose from. So you can decide. And the fun thing, which I always like about it, is you don't really have to have a sword and a shield. You can be an archer. You can. One time I said to someone, you can technically be a fighter and only use knives, like a dagger, or two axes, or just your fists. Technically, but that probably monk would probably be better. So they're pretty simple in comparison to other classes, but they're very customizable. So you can really okay, I can decide how my fighter wants to be played. And of course, like in the player's handbook, they say that every fighter can use a sword, a shield, a bow, and axe, but you decide what your character specifically wants. So, and to go a little bit quickly into your role, just as you can maybe realize by the way I've been talking, you're a frontline guy. You are usually in the front that is probably taking the most damage because you've got a 10-sided die as your hit die. Meaning, without any modifiers or anything, you start off with 10 HP, which is only the same as the Ranger and lower than the Barbarian. So you get a lot of a pretty decent HP, and you are probably gonna be more on the front lines fighting. So, and just some quick tips, which there is something called quick build if you just want to do one quickly without having to think about it. One recommendation which I usually take is to either focus on strength or dexterity because most weapons use strength, the bigger ones like a great axe or a big ass sword. But there are weapons called finesse, which are knives, short swords, rapiers, and bows that go from dexterity. So a recommendation is if you want is to either make your fighter a strength based or dexterity based. Another one which can be pretty good is constitution because like I just said, you're gonna be mostly in the front lines fighting, then it's pretty good to have a decent HP. Or you can pick intelligence as your second highest stat if you plan on taking one of the subclasses which are called Eldritch Knights. So you get to choose two skills from the vital list, which is acrobatics, animal handling, athletics, history, insight, intimidation, perception, and survival. Pretty decent pull, I guess. Fighters really aren't that much about those skills they're fighting, which is why they only get two. So, at level 1, you get to choose your fighting style, which there is archery, which gives you a +2 bonus to any attack rolls made with a ranged weapon. Defense, while you're wearing armor, you get a +1 bonus to your AC. Dueling, where you're wielding a weapon in one hand and no other weapon in your other hand, you gain +2 to damage rolls. So if you have only a short sword, and then you roll a 20-sided die and you get say an 18, then you can add 2, which becomes a 20, which usually hits. And great weapon fighting, which is basically if you are having a So basically, you get to choose a fighting style, which can be more focused. You also get Second Wind, which once per long rest you can heal yourself in battle in 10-sided die plus your fighter level, which means the maximum you'll ever heal yourself is 20 HP at level 20, which usually then you'll probably have like 200 HP. So it really is just like, okay, a get up on your feet maneuver isn't supposed to be like, oh, I'm supposed to heal it all. Then you get Action Search, which once per long rest, you can take two actions in one turn, which means you can attack 2 times, which becomes more powerful when you come to level 5. You get extra attacks. So at level 5 you can act twice on your normal action, and four times on your if you use action search. And this will be maxed out to 4 normally and 8 with an action search. So yeah, you by the end of the game you'll probably kill like a boss easily, or at least severely wound it by the end of your turn. Then you get Indomitable, which allows you to roll again, and you can but then you have to use the new roll, and this will max out at 3 times a day. Then finally, we are going to be looking at the subclasses or martial archetypes. We got the champion. The champion is basically think the champion as fighter 2.0. So you get improved critical hits, which how I usually do it is, which is usually that you roll the die and does times 2. So say if you did 6 points of piercing damage, you did 12. So now you can score critical hit on a 19 or 20, and this is when you roll it, and it's not including any modifiers which you add. So yeah, basically you get some basically you're a better fighter, and usually pretty basic in my opinion. I don't really like them. The Battle Master they get something called maneuvers, which they can learn, or they can do like a bunch of cool shit like parrying, sweeping your enemy, rallying, pushing, basically a lot of different maneuvers, which you get something called a superior die, which gets improved as you go up in levels. So you can do a bunch of cool shit. Then we come to the Eldritch Knight, which the character NPC I made for my party is actually called Carlos, CRLLOS, and he's actually an Eldritch Knight, or I made him one. So Eldritch Knights are fighters that have studied a little bit of magic. They usually have 2, specialized in 2, which is Abjuration and Evocation. Abjuration is defensive magic, and Evocation is elemental magic. So they get a limited spells. They get only up to 4th level, so they aren't a full caster. They get a little bit of spells. Meaning by the end you've got 3 cantrips, 13 spells, which is lower than a sorcerer, and you also get one thing which I find pretty cool is that you get a weapon bond, meaning you can bond up to 2 weapons that you can just summon as a bonus action. Meaning you don't have to have, say if you use a bow and arrows, you don't have to have your quiver or your bow on you. You can just summon them and start doing shit. Then we get War Magic, which allows you to attack, make a 1-weapon attack as a bonus action after you cast a cantrip. So say, for an example, is Firebolt and a slash with a longsword. Then you got Eldritch Strike, which basically gives them disadvantage at the next saving throw. Disadvantage at the next saving throw that your spells, basically future spells. Then you get Arcane Charge, which when you use your action search, you can teleport up to 30 feet in whichever direction. So basically, you can just like, and then just teleport behind someone and chop their head off. Then we got improved war magic, which means that after you cast a spell of any level, you can make a one weapon attack. So I think I watched other the YouTubers. One said a pretty decent combination is hold person, which paralyzes them, meaning they can't move, and to then just attack with your action search 8 times. So that's the bit of fighter. Sorry if I said something wrong. It's just been well, yeah.